This video is brought to you by the Disc Golf Nerd Patreon support team. Go to patreon.com/discgolfnerd. My people, hello, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to my review of the Prodigy Discs A3. Now, this is basically a re-review of the A3. I have tested and reviewed this disc several years ago now, but I've had the opportunity to test it again. I've tried some different plastics, and my game and everything has changed so much since then, from the way I throw to the way I make content, and I thought it was only fair to post an updated review for the A3. This could be something that I do for other discs going forward. I know off the top of my head I also have the Sinus full re-review coming soon as well, so yeah, could be something you guys see more going forward, kind of going back, revisiting some of those older molds, showing you the flight footage and all the different things that I do now compared to those old school reviews. So we tested 3 different versions. We have this 500 that was given to me by my friend Joel Pearson. We also have this 400 that was sent over from a kind individual named William Freeman. He also sent me this A2 that I just previously reviewed as well. We're going to be comparing that to the A3 in this video, so stay tuned for that. So thank you to both of them. Also, my friend Anthony helped us out with this video. You'll see him throwing some shots, and he also brought a 750 A3 that is the orange one that you'll see, but you'll be able to tell hopefully by the color which is which anyway, but I'll put all that information on the screen so you can keep it straight in your head. But we have a 400 plastic, a 500, and a 750. Before we get into the video, I wanted to give a quick shout out to my retail sponsor who's been helping us out a lot here on the channel, InfiniteDiscs.com. Check them out. Use my code DiscGolfNerd at checkout. You'll get yourself a small discount, and you will also help to support the channel financially because some of those profits will be shared with the Disc Golf Nerd channel, allowing us to continue to do what we do and bring you guys this content. So thank you to them. Thanks to all of my fans, viewers, supporters out there, my Disc Golf Nerd Patreon support team. You guys are amazing. Let's get into the nuts and bolts, the full meat of the review of the Prodigy Discs A3. So once again, we have the 500, we have the 400. The one I tested years ago I think was a 400, but it had an enormous dome on it. You will see that these are both mostly flat, which I really like. Not much of a difference in the way these two are shaped. They both have just like a tiny bit of raised dome in the very center there, but I would still pretty much consider these to be flat. It's not maybe quite as flat to concave as like this Harp is, but yeah, still a flat top feel in the hand, especially compared to that old one that I tested that had a huge dome. And kind of because of that, I didn't really test it outside of the few sessions I did to kind of feel like I was comfortable bringing it to review. I didn't really test it from my own bag. Now this 400 plastic one here, once I got it, I started testing it to get some footage on it, and it immediately went in my bag, and it's been in ever since, and I'm throwing it a lot. So we'll get to that a little bit later. But the 500 and the 400, not terribly dissimilar in terms of the way they fly out there. This one may be a little bit more stable, but it does have some more flashing on it, so it's not quite as smooth, and flashing like that will definitely add some stability, and that will kind of break in over time from my experience. So as this thing got a little bit more worn in, probably be relatively identical, and the feel is not that different as well. Maybe the 500, maybe just a tiny bit more grip to it. But here's the thing about Prodigy plastic, and I just got to be honest with you guys, this stuff varies a lot. They vary in shape, they vary in feel, even from one to the other. Again, I said I had that 400 A3 that I tested initially, giant pop top dome on it. These are both flat, and then the 750 is board flat, stiffer, very overstable in comparison. So they vary a lot. So basically, I can't do anything other than test the ones that I have and report the findings. So if you have one that's like wildly different in terms of stability or shape or anything like that, I cannot represent that at all here on the channel. So did my best testing 3 different plastics and 3 different individual discs, which is about as much as I'm ever going to be able to do for you guys, except for the A2 where we tested 2 350Gs and then a couple other, a 400 and a 500. All right, man, so many numbers, so many different distinctions to outline. Let's get into the review a little deeper here and just take a closer look at the profile of this thing. So it kind of looks like a gator that's flattened down, like a squished lower profile gator where the rim protrudes out a little bit farther. Definitely seems quicker to me, and it does have more of a mid-rangey type feel to it than some other overstable approach discs that I've tested. Here it is next to the gator, so you can see what I mean, where that bead is indented kind of part way down the rim. Some kind of squared off rim protrudes out from there, but again, you can see that the A3 is much flatter, lower profile than even this particular gator that has that little bit of a weird pop top right in the middle. Still mostly a flat feel, but it does have that little bit of a pop in the dead center. The 500, very similar, maybe a touch less gummy than this 400 one. This 400 one, though, by far is my favorite. Just something about this particular one flies the way I want it to, feels incredible. I really like that. I like the 750 as well, but it was much more overstable. You're going to see that a little bit later on. That orange 750 was definitely firmer plastic, very flat, very stable, but these two feel very similar, just kind of a different look to the plastic, I would say. But we'll take that guy out of here for now, and we'll focus on this 400, put it up next to some other options. First of all, we have the 350G A2. Now, throughout our testing of these two discs that happen back to back, we've noticed that the A2 and the A3 kind of start to overlap a little bit, you know, when you kind of start to vary the plastics and everything like that. So this 350G was the least stable that we tested since it's a little bit broken in, but it's still more overstable than the 400 and 500 A3s for the most part, I would say. The 500 A2 was very overstable, and then the 750 A3 is very much in the A2 level of stability. Probably could even be a little bit more overstable than some of the A2s we tested. Probably almost certainly more overstable than this particular 750 or 350G rather. I said it in the A2 review. I'm not trying to be a broken record, but I will say it's just difficult to keep all this stuff straight with the Prodigy names and the plastic types. It's just confusing when you're not in it all the time. I'm sure if you were a big Prodigy fan, it would be pretty simple to understand, but for me, just kind of dipping my toe into Prodigy when I have so much other experience with so many other discs, the 350G, 700, 750, 500, whatever, all the different numbers, and the A2, A3, X, MX3, FX2, it just gets really confusing. I think that's pretty fair to say. Let's put it up next to these two so you can see A2, more of a mid-rangey type feel to it, no bead, and just super beefy mold in general. I've heard that some of these in the 300 plastic are just dumb overstable, and they stay that way for a while. I would not be surprised if that's the case, and again, I'm sure they vary quite a bit based on our testing. Also, Harp is another one that I'm going to be re-reviewing, so stay tuned for that. I tested the Harp a million years ago when it first hit the market. You're going to see the Harp is way deeper and more of a putter vibe than the A3. And this is part of what's getting into why I like this A3 so much, is because it's so low profile, it's so shallow, but it still has that nice chunky rim to it, and the way it lines up in my forehand grip, it's just excellent. But there it is next to the Harp. Very, very different in terms of feel. We have one from left field here. This is the Lone Star Discs Harpoon, which is kind of like a Zone clone, but it has a big pop top on it. Very nice feel to it, though. I don't mind it, actually, for a Domi approach disc. Usually that's kind of like a blasphemous thing for me. But there it is next to the Harpoon. I have not thrown the Harpoon yet. Another previously reviewed disc that I got another one of just for the upcoming comparison video is the AVR X3. I'm not going to be re-reviewing this one because it happened during our kind of more modern era with the flight footage and all that, so there's no real reason to. But there it is next to the AVR X3, which has the most just kind of standard putter type shape to it than any of the other ones I showed you in my perspective. So there it is next to a number of different options. I love the feel of this thing. I love how low profile it is. I love the flat top feel in my thumb. I love the way that my forehand grip lines up with that bead, and I can just really work this thing on so many different nice forehand angles. And let's take a look at some flight footage here. So the thing I like the most about the 400 A3, and the reason why it's still in my bag, is because I can throw it forehand on a lot of different angles and get really excellent results. It's a great forehand hyzer upshot disc. I can throw forehand turnovers with it that won't kind of rip over at all and just hold that angle down and kind of pan out, land flat. I can throw it backhand full power and it'll get up to flat for a second but still have a fade to it and stretch out a good amount of extra distance compared to my caltrops that I usually throw for my overstable backhand approach shots. So I like this disc somewhere in between a caltrop and a justice. It's not nearly that overstable as a justice, but it's enough that I can throw it really hard and trust it not to flip, get it to hold straight, have some fade. I can pull it over on an Anheuser forehand and let it flex out, but it's not so aggressively kind of mean overstable like a Justice would be. It's a really, really workable disc that I like a lot in a lot of different shot shapes, mostly forehands, but I can throw it extremely effectively backhand as well. Now, once again, the 500 didn't seem to behave much differently at all than the 400. They're quite similar all in all. Maybe the 500 just a little bit more stable, but again, these are all been thrown and have different levels of wear on them and stuff, so you don't have to really put too much stock into that. That could just be due to the fact that one's thrown more than the other or whatever else. So I think really the 500 and the 400, you should be able to expect them to perform mostly the same in terms of stability, and the feel's not that far off as well, but the 500 has that really pearly, pretty looking opaque plastic. Probably be really fun to dye that plastic as well. And then the 400, I really like this opaque 400 plastic. It feels quite a bit like the kind of opaque opto plastics that I like so much over the years. So that's pretty much all I got for you. You guys are going to see the flight footage. You're going to see that it's one of those ultra trustworthy straight flying discs with fade. You can check up on it and get a really overstable flight overall. Really tremendous approach disc for forehands in particular. Can't stress it enough. I've been throwing this thing on forehands every round, and it's just working out super, super well, to the point where I actually haven't thrown the Justice quite as much because I'm feeling more comfortable working this thing, and I don't have to worry about the aggressive fade quite as much. So I can play for the fade by putting more hyzer on it, but I don't have to rely on it to get an accurate flight for this thing. So I love the fact that it has that smaller diameter, kind of putter type diameter to it, and overstable approach disc, well, small diameter feel, but it does have more of a mid-range type flight path and overall shallowness and feel in the hand, which I like. So it's kind of a hybrid in between something like a caltrop and a Justice, somewhere in the middle, and I think it works extremely well for me. And I think you guys will really like this disc if you test it out. Once again, the 750 orange one was extremely overstable. So if you're looking for an A3 that can be as stable as you can find, that's probably what you want to look for. I have not had a chance to test these in any of the more baseline plastics, but I may look for a 300 to try going forward as well, just out of curiosity. So that is my review on the A3. Tremendous disc that is in my bag and will continue to be there until I find something that works better. But thanks to all of you guys for watching. Thanks to everybody who helped support me and helped me out with this video. Thanks to Joel and to William, and of course my good buddy Anthony for hooking us up with the flight footage and letting us use some of his other plastic types and stuff to bring even more kind of in-depth information to the video. So thanks to everybody for their continued support. I will talk to you all very soon. Cheers.